An update just dropped, and I know you guys have questions on what the best loadout is, the best meta, etc. We're going to cover that right now. And I know you guys want to know about the BP50, and the important thing about this is you guys need to know, even though the description says fully automatic bullpup assault rifle boasts a high fire rate while remaining deadly and accurate at long range, I highly recommend not using this at long range. I can give you guys two builds, but I'm going to give you guys the optimal build to start out with. So we're starting out with the recoil booster for the increased fire rate and slight reduction of accuracy. Now, like I said, there's going to be two builds, but this is going to be a close range build, and I honestly believe this is actually one of the fastest TTKs right now. So this is why I recommend not using it for long range. Move on to the Leroy 438mm rapid for the increased fire rate. Now you get a decrease of bullet velocity, sprint to fire speed, damage range, and recoil control. Not a big deal. Trust me, we'll make up for that all later. Put on the Desmet AD flashlight for recoil control and recoil recovery. If you don't want to use that, then you can use the Charlier CR laser for sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed, but I just feel like you want as much recoil control as possible. Put on the Circle IS for the aim down sight speed. If you don't want to use that, then you can use a slight reflector, but you're not going to get the increase of aim down sight speed. Plus, I think the sight's actually pretty good. If you want to go a little bit higher with the sight, then you can use this one, but I don't know. I think it gets a little choppy after using the Circle. Now, use the Desmet NOM 11S for the idle sway control, recoil control, aiming stability, initial firing recoil control. You get a reduction of movement speed, sprint to fire speed, and aim down sight speed, but that's not a big deal. This thing's going to be a recoil controlled machine. If you don't want to use that, now kind of hard to suggest to remove stock, but this is kind of the next best choice if you weren't worried so much about your recoil. It increases movement speed, sprint to fire speed, aim walking movement speed, and aim down sight speed, with a reduction of idle sway control, aiming stability, and recoil control. Now move on to tight grip for accuracy and recoil during sustained fire. Put on hand for aim down sight speed. Put on grooved grip for aim walking movement speed, horizontal recoil control, ADS firing move speed, and aiming stability. You get a reduction of sprint to fire speed and aim down sight speed. Put on the 50 round mags for the bullet velocity, ammo reserve, and increased torso damage. This is a big deal. Make sure you have this one on there. You get a decrease of recoil control and hipfire accuracy, but that's not a big deal. This thing is so much better than, honestly, these other two. These other two just are paling in comparison to this one. Now, I mean, this one is cool for the headshot damage, but other than that, I don't really think it's that optimal. So 50 round blast mag is the best choice, and throw on subsonic for no minimap pings. Now, if you want to use this for long range, completely up to you. But we're going to throw on the MX silencer for the sound suppression, horizontal recoil control, vertical recoil control, and damage range. You get a decrease of aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed. I don't really think that you should change this, but if you do, use the Desmet 540mm PMH for bullet velocity, hipfire accuracy, flinch resistance, and recoil control. You get a reduction of aim down sight speed, movement speed, fire rate, and aim walking move speed, but this is the best choice. This isn't really a good choice just because you get a decrease of bullet velocity and recoil control. This is the best choice overall. Even though you get a decrease of fire rate, if you compensated that with the recoil booster, then that would be even better. Now, I do recommend keeping the Desmet 80 flashlight on there. If you don't want to use this, then I really do recommend, let's see, SVT 40 PU scope. That way you can actually use it at a range. Put on, well, you can actually keep this on. There's not really much of a better option. So maybe you can use the Maze Skeletal, but I really do recommend either Desmet NOM 11S or the Maze Skeletal. I mean, this gets a decreased sprint to fire speed and hip fire accuracy. This is decreases your move speed, sprint to fire speed, and aim down sight speed. Idle sway control increase, recoil control, aiming stability, initial firing recoil increase, versus aim, walking movement speed, aiming stability, idle sway control, initial firing recoil. So, I mean, it's completely up to you, whichever one you want to choose. I honestly do think this is actually the better option, but you guys do see that reduces accuracy and control just slightly, but in areas that don't really matter. So, keep tight grip on there, keep on hand on there. Grooved grip you can keep on there, or you can throw on the pine tar grip for the increased recoil control and hip fire accuracy. You're not really going to be hip firing like that, but hip fire accuracy, you get a decrease of aim down sight speed though. If you don't want to use that, then I mean, you could use hatch grip for more increased recoil control and flinch resistance, but you're going to be sacrificing that strafe speed. So it's completely up to you however you want to deal with it. But if you want to throw that on there, feel free to throw on one of these two. And then overall, I would suggest keeping these on there just because they're the best choice. If you don't want to use that, then you could use lengthen. Since, I mean, if you have a silencer on there, subsonic won't be necessary. You can just throw on lengthen and you'll have incredible bullet velocity. Next, we're moving on to the Cooper Carbine. This thing is absolutely incredible, and I have to give you guys an amazing build. Considering the recent update, I just think it's very, very good now. Throwing the MX silencer for the sound suppression, horizontal recoil control, vertical recoil control, and damage range. You get a reduction of aim down sight speed, sprint to fire speed, not a big deal. Move on to the 18-inch ragdoll G45 for bullet velocity and range and recoil control with a reduction of hip fire accuracy, fire rate, and aim down sight speed. Throwing the SVT 40p U-scope for the magnification, accuracy, variable zoom, 3 to 6 time magnification. Throw on the Cooper custom padded for accuracy and recoil during sustained fire and flinch resistance. You get a decrease of initial fire and recoil and aiming stability. Throw on brace for the initial fire and recoil compensation. Throw on hand for aim down sight speed. Throw on hatched for the recoil control and flinch resistance. Throw on the 9mm 60 round drum for the recoil control and accuracy, fire rate, aim down sight speed, and magazine ammo capacity. You get a reduction of bullet velocity and range, bullet penetration, damage, and reload quickness. Not a big deal. Considering they increase the health, this is just an overall great option considering how fast this weapon actually shoots. Plus, you're going to put on compressed rounds for increased fire rate on top of that, and throw on bipod for the recoil control when mounted, crouched, or prone. This thing is a no recoil machine that melts incredibly fast, incredibly choice. Wow, incredible choice to use. I'm going to give you guys an honorable mention, which is going to be the M4A1. And considering this recently got a buff, it technically could be a meta. So throw on the monolithic suppressor for the sound suppression, damage range. You get a decrease of aim down sight speed and aim walking steadiness. Throw on the stock M16 Grenadier for the damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control. You get a reduction of aim down sight speed and movement speed, not a big deal. For the optic, make sure you throw on the VLK 3 times just for the zoom, and I just think it's the best overall. When you do that, make sure for the reticle, you go to the T-pose because it's honestly the best reticle. Move on from that. The magazine, you want to have a 60-round magazine. And for the underbarrel, you either have Commando or you have the Ranger. So completely up to you, whichever one you want to choose. I chose Ranger, and this is the best build for the M4A1. Honestly, try it out for yourself, and I'm sure you'll love it. But you guys know how I feel about the Grawl. The Grawl is absolutely incredible, and it's still meta despite getting nerfed recently. Throw on the monolithic suppressor for the sound suppression and damage range. You get a decrease of aim down sight speed, aim walking steadiness. Throw on the Tempest 26.4 Archangel for the damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control. You get a reduction of aim down sight speed and movement speed. Throw on the VLK 3 times optic. Make sure you have the T-pose on there. 60 round mags for the magazine ammo capacity, Ranger foregrip for the recoil control or aiming stability, and aiming stability. You can use Commando, like I said in the previous ones, completely up to you, but I just chose Ranger. I think that's the overall best option. Moving on from that, we're going to actually throw on the Automaton. This actually is getting a whole lot of love again, considering the TTK change, the health increase. This thing is actually amazing. So throw on the MX silencer for the sound suppression, horizontal recoil control, vertical recoil control, and damage range. You get a reduction of aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed. Throw on the Anastasia sniper for the bullet velocity and range plus increased accuracy. You get a reduction of hip fire accuracy and aim down sight speed on the SVT 40p U scope. Anastasia padded for accuracy and recoil during sustained fire plus flinch resistance. You get a decrease of initial fire and recoil and aiming stability, not a big deal. Throw on tight grip for accuracy and recoil during sustained fire. Throw on hand for aim down sight speed. Throw on hatch grip for the recoil control and flinch resistance. Throw on the Soccer 75 round drum just because it has the highest round, and everything else kind of has a negative that's not really worth it aside from maybe the 45, but why have 45 when you can have 75? Throw on lengthen for bullet velocity and Carver foregrip or bipod, whichever one you want to use, completely up to you, just to control your recoil a whole lot more. Now, guys, let me know in the comment section down below which weapon category you guys want me to cover next, and I'll happily do that. But try out the guns and let me know how you like them. If you guys want cheap battle passes and bundles from Call of Duty, go to MMOXP. They have fast delivery and use code CHAIN.